Good afternoon, New York Mets fans. It's Ops Guy Halpern here for the Sports Insanity Network, sponsored to you by the Dugout of Millwood, and with our co-signer, Top Knot Sports Club. So we're 2 games into the season. The Mets currently losing 2-0 now. It's not really what I want to touch on. I don't like losses. No fan of a team possibly can. But I'm encouraged by a few things. One, the hitting by Beatty, the hitting by Alvarez has been consistent. The outfield play of Tyrone Taylor and Harrison Bader, yeah, he had a little trouble in that second game, but all around this team is performing on different levels. They're not overstriding. They're not early swinging. Yes, when JD Martinez comes up, it's going to be a very big help to this team because it's going to give Pete Alonso that protection that he so desperately needs. And then also it's going to give protection a little bit to Francisco Alvarez, who's going to hit right behind him. And Alvarez has started off the year very hot. I have very high hopes for Alvarez. I have high hopes for Beatty. The pitching. Once the Mets lost Yamamoto, it was automatically transitioned to plan B. I don't believe the Mets had any intention of signing any of the other pitchers who were out there, even though they checked in, especially when it came down to Jordan Montgomery. I'm sure the Mets checked in just to see because, you know, the only main pitcher on our staff is Kodai Senga, and he won't be here until the end of May. And not unhappy with Quintana's start. He was a little wild, but you want to know what? I can attribute that to how the wind was gusting, so that can move the ball 1 to 2 inches, and that's the difference between a strike and a ball. As for the rest of the Mets rotation, it's going to be shaky. Severino didn't look great at all, even though he looked great in spring training. It's not the look Mets fans want. It's what it's going to be. The Mets are not going to have that star rotation like they had last year, that they barely had last year. Kodai Senga will be back come the end of May. The Mets will play out this season and hopefully will do much better, in upcoming games. It was a great single by Tyrone Taylor to bring in Francisco Alvarez. Mets now only down 2-1. The Mets, to me, are going to be kind of like the Cincinnati Reds. And I'm not talking in the win-loss column. I'm talking in the exciting column. And if you've listened to Batters Up in the past couple of weeks, Mike and I have said how exciting it is to watch the Cincinnati Reds team, especially Ellie De La Cruz, which, I mean, unless something tragically happens, this guy is your rookie of the year. But the Mets are going to make it exciting, not from their rotation standpoint, but their lineup is a solid lineup that can produce runs. And what the Mets need from all of these starters is they need quality starts. We need to be able to go 6 innings. So we're not relying on this bullpen. And let's face it, the bullpen, besides Ottavino and Diaz, that's not really a big name. My forecast for prediction is going to be this. The Mets will play out. Hey, great things can happen. Trust me, if the Mets make the playoffs, I'll be doing backflips. Well, not me. I'll have my daughter do them. She can do them. I can't. We made a point on Batters Up this morning about Corbin Burnes. He has said he wasn't going to talk extension during the season. I would find it hard to believe if the Baltimore Orioles win the World Series that he would go anywhere else. I mean, it has happened, but I really don't think he will. If they fall short or something else does not play out, then, hey, the Mets can try to go after him in free agency. The Mets will get better next season, pitching wise. They are stacked, and I use that word because that's what David Stearns and Steve Cohen said. If you look at the minor league setup, every position is covered, and a lot of them are ready to come up to the major leagues. We would have saw Ronnie Mauricio over at third base, most likely. He and Beatty would probably have split time, but unfortunately, he got that torn ACL, so he's out for the year. So, all hopes he gets better soon, and we'll see him sometime next year. But you have players like Luis Angel Acuna, Drew Gilbert. You have no, Edwin Diaz is not coming in. That was just my phone. Um, yeah, it's a plethora of players, and that the Mets now have a lot of chips they can use at the trade deadline if they're competitive. You know, let's say, let's say, for instance, some teams are willing to let some top players go. Can the Mets capitalize on that? With the chips they have, they can't fit every player that's in minor leagues on the major league roster. You got to get their full value. I believe there's a couple who are untouchable, such as Jet Williams and Drew Gilbert, but there are others who are not. That being said, you know, if you're a Mets fan, this is not the time to panic or worry. It's the third game of the season, got a long way to go, but I am encouraged by the way this lineup is swinging the bat, and is really not. They're not making lazy contact. A lot of the swings and contact have been solid line drives and stuff. Unfortunately, they've just hung up instead of falling in. Please check us out at www.sportsinsanitynetwork.com for all where you can catch our blogs and some of our blogs. Also, please check us out on X at SIN Real. Please go take a look at us on Facebook. Watch for us live. Check out everything. For me, it's Marco Ops Guy Halpern saying, hey, you gotta believe.